Is this thing better than the RetroTink? Hey everyone, and welcome back to the network, where today we're going to be taking a look at the RetroScaler 2X AV converter and RetroScaler 2X. Now, this thing was actually a recommendation from one of our AliExpress videos to take a look at. So this did come off of AliExpress, but I know it is also available on Amazon. So I will have product links down in the description in case you're interested in picking one of these up for yourself. Now, for some of you, you may be wondering, what is the point of a device like this? And the point of this, much like any scaling device, is to take your video from a Super Nintendo and upscale it so that it is a nice 480p and it plays nice with modern televisions. Also, you could use this as an alternative for, most TVs nowadays lacking component or composite input ports. Now, with that being said, if you're at all familiar with the scene for retro console scalers, you may be asking yourself, now, isn't this thing just a clone of the RetroTink 2X? And that is a valid question, and what we'll be testing in today's video. So without any further introduction, let's go ahead and take a look at this packaging. So as we can see from the front, it does say the RetroScaler 2X, and it says RetroScaler 2X again, and then it says AV converter and RetroScaler 2X, so it just says RetroScaler 2X like 3 times on that thing. Technically 4 if you're counting this picture. Definitely can't tell that this is a made in China product. Then we also have a nice little graphic of the device that is included in here. On the side, we have nothing. On the back, we have Barry@retroscaler.com and a QR code. We have nothing, and we still have the same information that we saw on the front, but taking a look at the back, we do have a little more information. This thing says, Introduction, RetroScaler 2X is a high-quality composite S-video, component video, and analog audio to HDMI transcoder/converter. Then we also have the specifications stating that the video inputs are component S-video and composite, the output is 480p, and then it says the supported video formats are 240p through 480i, and then all sorts of other things. Now, pretty much your 240p systems are like the NES, the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, those are all 240p, and the consoles that output 480i are pretty much the original Xbox if you're not using, component cables, the GameCube if you're also not using component cables, and the PS2 if you're not using component cables once again. But with the exterior of the box out of the way, let's take a look at what is inside of here. We have an invitation from RetroScaler. This thing says, big thanks for your purchase and we sincerely invite you to join our community, and then it has a couple QR codes for their Discord and official store. We can go ahead and take this and shove it. We also have the instruction manual for this device, which features important safety information, an overview, the buttons, connectors, and external controls, support, and actually it says support but not limited to. That's an interesting way to word that. So for those of you wondering if this device is actually just a knockoff of the RetroTink 2X Pro, I was flipping through the manual, and on this page it straight up says RetroTink 2X and OSSC, but in here it says nothing about the RetroTink 2X. It's talking about the RetroScaler. So my guess is this whole manual was copy and pasted from the RetroTink website. That is kind of a shameless bit of copyright right there. So we don't really have to worry too much about this instruction manual because this device is pretty straightforward, but it is nice that that comes included. And then we have the RetroScaler itself in this little tray, which I'll take out just because I can. So I went with the blue and the red model because I thought that that looked nice. I believe they have a different color scheme. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So taking a look at it, we have HDMI out on the back. We have a, looks like micro USB for power, which is unfortunate because micro USB cables suck. Then we have a on and off switch on the side, which is labeled on and off. And it has this really nice rocker switch, which I kind of like. It's nice, big, and pronounced. Then we have our component inputs, our S-video inputs, and then our composite and audio inputs, along with 2 buttons, one for turning on smoothing mode and one for selecting the input, along with the different indicator lights for the different modes that we have selected, whether it be composite, S-video, component, if we're in 2X mode, or if we're in fill, which I'm not sure what fill is. Maybe that's just pass-through, but we will definitely take a look at that in the testing phase for this device. Also included in the package is a rather decently lengthed USB or micro USB cable. This has to be at least 2 to 3 feet, which is pretty nice for a device like this. You're used to only getting cables with these things that are like, you know, 6 inches, and it's kind of depressing. So taking a look at the RetroScaler and comparing it to the RetroTink 2X Pro, we pretty much have similar features across the board. This has the line double, a smoothing, and a pass-through mode. It also has a retro feature, which is better for pixel-based games. It doesn't smooth them out or try to. This does not seem to have that, so that is a +1 for the RetroTink 2X Pro. The other big difference is that the 2X Pro is nearly double the cost of this RetroScaler 2X. Now, this was purchased off of AliExpress, so it was under $50. If you want to get a 2X Pro, they're about $120. So you're looking at a pretty, like, nearly half the price of a 2X Pro is this device, but does it perform as well? Now that is the question that we are going to answer in a few moments when we go on to test this device. And for that test, as voted on by the network community, the consoles that need a glow up for their video outputs the most are allegedly the PS2 and the N64. So those will be the two consoles that we'll be testing out this RetroScaler 2X with. But without any further delay, let's head over to the consoles and test this thing out. So taking a look at the straight composite out for the N64, the footage appears to be a little more vibrant than what you get with the RetroScaler 2X. Then looking at the side-by-side, you'll notice that the footage from the RetroScaler 2X appears to be a lot sharper than what you'll get with the composite cables, as well as some random jittering that seems to be taking place only on the RetroScalers. And then turning the smoothing mode on, you'll notice that it still has the jitter that we have in the just normal 2X mode, although the pixels and the over sharpness seems to be smoothed out a little bit, so that seems to do exactly what it says on the tin. And then when comparing the RetroTink 2X to the RetroScaler 2X, you'll notice that they both seem to have some sort of jittering artifact, although it seems to be a little less on the RetroTink 2X, as well as the RetroTink footage looking a little more like the RetroScaler footage, but when it's in smoothing mode. And then heading over to the PS2 using raw component cables, you'll notice that as soon as we swap over to the RetroScaler 2X, the footage seems to get a contrast boost, as well as returning that weird jittering effect, although that doesn't appear to be present during gameplay. However, you can see quite a few interlacing artifacts from the component footage that the RetroScaler 2X seems to completely remove. When turning on the RetroScaler 2X's smoothing mode, it actually looks surprisingly good on the PS2. Then when comparing the RetroScaler to the RetroTink 2X, you'll notice that the 2X footage is smoother, but also has a little less saturation when compared to what you're seeing on the RetroScaler. But other than that, the quality seems to be rather similar between the two different devices. So overall, what do I think of the RetroScaler 2X? To be honest, let's be real, this thing is pretty much just a shameless clone of the RetroTink 2X line of upscalers. So pretty much a lot of the features you'd get on this thing, you can also get on the RetroTink 2X Pro, although the smoothing mode does appear to be exclusive to this RetroScaler. And I'll be honest, some things this thing seems to do better, like for the PS2, it really does kind of clean it up nice, other than that jittering artifact from, my guess is it trying to de-interlace. It's not the best thing out there when it comes to de-interlacing. You'd want to get a higher quality upscaler for that. However, this device is nearly half the price of a RetroTink 2X. So if you wanted a cheaper, more entry-level type upscaler, this thing actually isn't that bad, I would say. However, if you want better quality, I would go for a RetroTink, mainly because it also has firmware updates, where this thing, I don't believe it does. Now, why would you want either of these devices when you could get one of those component to HDMI or composite to HDMI adapters for like $10 off of Amazon? Now, those devices are designed for you to hook up like a VCR or a DVD player that only has composite or component inputs to an HD television. It's not meant for you to play games. It's more so just for streaming video. Now, don't get me wrong, those converters do work, but if you want a better gaming experience, I would either go with a RetroTink or one of these RetroScalers. So I'll go ahead and put some links down in the description for both the RetroScaler 2X as well as the RetroTink, so that in case you want to pick one of these things up for yourself, you can. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, remember to drop a like and make that subscribe button glow so that you don't miss any future content. And if you have any suggestions for products you want us to take a look at, be sure to leave it down in the comments or pitch it on our official Discord server, link down below in case you're interested in stopping by. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.